The surprising debut of Spider-Boy ignited a significant buzz among collectors, creating high demand for even the mention of his name. At the same time, excitement was generated for Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle hitting the big screen, boosting interest in his early comic appearances. And in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars hype was building for the announcement of a new trilogy carrying on Rey's story, generated considerable anticipation.
2 years ago, Spider-Boy dominated conversations and everyone wanted to be a part of the buzz. Anything related to him was flying off the shelves, including unrelated books. Over at DC, the groundwork was being laid for a new young Latino superhero, Blue Beetle. And finally, anticipation was building with Star Wars movie and TV news in the works. So let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Izzy, with Comics with IzzyVerse NYC, and this is your weekly Cover Price Top 10 Comic Rewind. From the excitement of April 2023, we are featuring Spider-Boy, Blue Beetle, and Star Wars properties. We now ask, what's their status in today's collecting world? We're taking a look back at those very items from 2 years ago to assess their current market value and popularity. And remember to like the video and subscribe to Cover Price's channel. Also, turn on notifications to stay up to date on the latest comic book news. Let's talk comics.
We're 10. Star Wars The Force Awakens adaptation. Number 1, Marvel Comics, 2016. Lucasfilm dropped a bunch of news about upcoming Star Wars movies, shows, games, etc. They even announced Daisy Ridley's Rey was coming back for a new movie trilogy. That sent her first comic appearance, Star Wars The Force Awakens adaptation number 1, through the roof. Raw copies in near mint were going for around $18, and a graded 9.8 even hit $159. 2 years later, and that initial hype for Star Wars, well, it cooled off. The Rey movie still hasn't happened, and honestly, we haven't heard a whole lot about it. But what about that comic? Surprisingly, it's held pretty well. Raw copies are going for about half of what they were, around $9. But get this, a graded 9.8 actually went up. Someone paid $185 for just one this February. So, looking back 2 years, I say that this book is a solid push.
Any day now, we might hear something about that new trilogy. But let's be real with Star Wars projects. You always wonder if they're actually going to happen, right? My gut says yes, eventually. But how long is eventually? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? You know what I'm saying? So for now, this comic feels like a long game. You gotta buckle in and wait for it.
Number 9, Star Wars Heir to the Empire number 1. Dark Horse Comics, 1995. When the Ahsoka trailer finally showcased Grand Admiral Thrawn, it triggered a notable reaction in the collector's market. His first comic appearance quickly climbed to $168 for raw copies, and a CGC 9.8 reached a substantial $1,425. The subsequent release of the Ahsoka series has been well received, fueling speculation about a second season. Despite Thrawn's continued popularity as a key Star Wars antagonist, the price levels of 2023 were not maintained. Currently, near mint raw copies are valued at approximately $50, and a CGC 9.8 recently sold for $350. Evaluating this market shift over 2 years, this book's trajectory indicates a bust.
I know many of you Star Wars fans were eagerly anticipating the arrival of Grand Admiral Thrawn on screen. And there he was, in all his glory. This early 1995 Dark Horse comic is a real gem, a great adaptation of the Star Wars novel. Seriously, Dark Horse in the 90s was killing it with their licensed books. Alien, Predator, RoboCop, and Star Wars. They were on fire. And in my opinion, at this current price of around $50, Heir to the Empire is a book worth seeking out. And I'm quite certain Thrawn will return.
Number 8, Action Comics 1051, the Dan Mora cover. DC Comics 2023. This particular issue marked a new direction for the Superman family and also featured several first appearances. This generated notable interest among fans and collectors, causing near-mint raw copies to reach a price of approximately $23. However, 2 years have passed and the new characters introduced, the Super Twins, have not had a lasting impact on the market. As a result, the price for this issue has declined significantly. Raw copies are now valued at $4, and a CGC 9.8 graded copy can be acquired for under $40, having sold for as low as $22 in June of 2024. This substantial price decrease over 2 years indicate that the book is an easy bust.
The dawn of DC was an interesting approach, rebooting the DC universe without resorting to drastic changes or any major relaunch. It focused more on providing accessibility to entry points to titles that readers might have previously found challenging. I concur with the assessment of bust here, primarily because, let's be honest, this isn't any truly significant key issue unless you prioritize good storytelling paired with great artwork. And Dan Mora's art is great.
Number 7, Infinite Crisis number 5, George Perez cover, DC Comics 2006. When that first Blue Beetle movie trailer dropped, it was promising. Plus, James Gunn even hinted he'd be cool with seeing Jaime Reyes in a new DCU. That got a lot of folks scrambling for this book. The George Perez cover of Infinite Crisis number 5 saw some action, with 21 copies selling in 1 week. Near mint raw copies were hitting around $21, and graded 9.8s were going for about $100. Now it's been 2 years since the movie came out, and yeah, while a lot of fans are still crossing their fingers for more Reyes, the prices on that first appearance have come down. You could snag a near mint copy for around $10 to $12 these days, and a recent CGC 9.8 sold for $78. So it's kind of a bust, but there's definitely reason to be optimistic. If Reyes does come back, you can bet those prices are gonna jump up again.
Jaime Reyes is a fun character, no doubt, and will be a solid fit for the new DCU. But the reality is, we're still not totally sure if he's actually part of those plans. You could argue that the movie fits, but let's not ignore the box office. It wasn't a massive success. $130 million worldwide on a $125 million budget. Yeah, it's technically made money, but it underperformed. Interestingly though, it got good reviews and it was a hit on streaming, so it's a bit of a 50-50 situation.
Number 6, Infinite Crisis number 3, Jim Lee cover, DC Comics 2005. This is the second Jaime Reyes book we're looking at, and this is his very first appearance. His debut as Blue Beetle actually came a few issues later. Back then, you were looking at around $20 for a raw copy, and a graded 9.8 was fetching about $150. Now, like we were saying, the fact that we haven't heard much concrete news about Reyes coming back has definitely impacted prices, and this book is no exception. Raw copies are holding up okay, selling for around $14 these days. But the real story is the graded copies. Just last November, a CGC 9.8 sold for only $41. That's a pretty significant drop from $150. This is one of those cases where the difference between the raw and the graded prices really make that graded copy a bust 2 years later.
Let's bring back the focus to the comic book version of Blue Beetle, especially since we've been discussing his live action version. Jaime Reyes is a really great Latino character, and let's be honest, we need more representation like that in comics. He could be huge for DC Universe, in the same way that Miles Morales is for Marvel. So no matter what the price is doing right now, this first appearance is still a significant key issue. Pick it up when you're given a chance. It's worth it.
Number 5, Spider-Boy #1, Marvel and DC Comics, 1996. The newest addition to the Spider-Verse was Spider-Boy, and at the time of our list, his origins were a mystery, which led to tons of speculation about who he could be. Some even sought out this book with features of totally different Spider-Man, one from the Amalgam universe, a smash-up of DC's Superboy and Marvel's Ben Reilly Spider-Man. While raw copies were only around $5, 40 copies sold. The eye-opening sale, though, was that a graded 9.8 that sold for $153. As the story played out, and it was evident that the one Spider-Boy had nothing to do with the other Spider-Boy, collectors moved on the next trend. Prices today are $4 for raw copies and $45 for a graded 9.8. These current prices make this book easily a bust.
You know, sometimes you just gotta shake your head. I love this Superboy Spider-Man combo. It's a cool idea. But seriously? Did people actually think this was the new Spider-Boy? I'm guessing some folks just figured, hey, here's the Spider-Boy. Might as well grab it, even if it had nothing to do with the one everyone was talking about a few years ago.
Number 4, Infinite Crisis #5, Jim Lee cover, DC Comics, 2006. The third Jaime Reyes book we're looking at this week is that cool Jim Lee cover for Infinite Crisis #5, Hyman in his new Blue Beetle suit, right there in the spotlight in his first cover appearance. It's no surprise this cover was the one most people wanted. Back then, raw copies were going for as much as $68, and graded copies even hit a high of $350. Fast forward 2 years, and we're seeing those prices come down quite a bit. Raw copies are now selling for around $19, and you can find graded 9.8s in the $100 range. That drop for both raw and graded versions definitely make this book a bust when you look back 2 years later.
This is the new Blue Beetle's first cover appearance, done by fan favorite superstar artist Jim Lee. What's not to like? It does everything you need it to do. Introduce the world to a new superhero in a major DC crossover event. For just under $20 raw, why pass it up?
Number 3, the Blue Beetle #1, DC Comics, 2016. The last Blue Beetle book we're looking at is the very first issue of Jaime Reyes' ongoing series. A lot of fans were excited for this one, and it shows. Nearly 40 copies sold in that first week. Back then, near mint raw copies were going for around $22, and graded CGC 9.8s were selling for $220. Jump ahead 2 years later, and this book kind of followed the same path as the others. Today, you can find near mint raw copies in the $10 range, and a CGC 9.8 are now selling for about $50. So yeah, this one's also a bust when we look back 2 years later.
Before we continue with Blue Beetle, it's important to understand a fundamental aspect of the collectibles market. When there's significant buzz around something, prices tend to rise. Conversely, when the discussion fades, prices often decline. This is precisely what we've observed with Blue Beetle. He had an upcoming movie generating excitement. Today, however, there's little to no news surrounding the character.
Number 2, Spider-Man #7, Mark Bagley cover, Marvel Comics, 2023. The first of the 2 Spider-Boy books on our list. That is the 2023 version, mind you. Specifically, the standard cover for his initial appearance in 2023. As the latest edition of the Spider-Verse, Spider-Boy generated significant buzz that year. From creator Dan Slott teases on social media to extensive discussion within the comic community regarding his origin, the book was highly sought after. That week saw 118 copies sold, with raw copies exceeding $25 and a recent graded sale reaching 80. In the 2 years since his debut, Spider-Boy has received his own solo series and a Marvel Legend figure, suggesting long-term potential. However, this hasn't prevented the prices on this once highly desired book from declining. Currently, near mint raw copies are around $13, and a CGC 9.8 graded copy can be purchased for $60. These current prices indicate a bust 2 years later, though future inclusions in animated or live action adaptations could certainly lead to renewal price increases.
All right, let's really talk about the actual Spider-Boy. His debut was huge, and everyone was trying to figure out who he was and where he came from, especially after his reveal in this comic. He's definitely got his fans, and it seems like he connects with a younger crowd, which I think is great. Still, I'm not totally sure if this was the absolute best way to bring him into the bigger Marvel picture.
Number 1, Spider-Man number 7, Roberto Ramos' top secret spoiler cover, Marvel Comics 2023. The number 1 book of that week was undoubtedly the spoiler reveal cover of Spider-Man number 7, promptly featuring Spider-Boy. This book experienced a significant surge in sales, moving over 500 copies that week, the highest volumes we've seen since we began covering the top 10. Near mint copies were approaching $50 at $46, and CGC 9.8 graded copies even saw a pre-sale of $186. As with the standard cover, this variant has also seen a decline in its sold prices over time. Raw copies of this spoiler variant are now selling for roughly a quarter of their 2023 price at $12 compared to $46. Furthermore, a recent auction concluded with a CGC 9.8 graded copy selling for $33, considerably less than its pre-sale value. These current prices make this book a bust 2 years later. Interestingly, current prices are actually lower than they were upon the book's initial release. For those who initially passed on it, now might be an opportune time to acquire a copy.
FOMO is real, especially in regards to Spider-Boy's first appearance. But that's why you need to be cautious when buying for investment purposes. Spider-Boy was a short-term investment for many. This Roberto Ramos spoiler cover is perfect and captures the essence of who Spider-Boy is. As of today, the character's title is being canceled and overall hype has died. Spider-Boy was never going to be the second coming of Miles Morales' Spider-Man, but that's okay. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see Spider-Boy in an animated format. Perhaps he could be a Disney Junior animated series, but I'm less convinced about a live action. But who knows?
Well, we can see at least one book didn't completely tank this week, which is a small victory. That first Spider-Boy appearance was a book many were interested in revisiting a couple of years later. How does a book that started so strong hold up over time? Could it maintain those high prices we saw initially? Not at the moment, it seems. But the upside with a lot of these books is that they mark the debut of characters who are still part of their universes. You know how often a new character gets hype up for a hot minute, then vanishes? These characters have opportunities down the road, whether it's in movies, TV, or back in the comics, to make a real impact again. If they get the right spotlight from the right creators, I wouldn't count these books out for future top 10 lists.
When you think about it, both Spider-Boy and the new Blue Beetle are cool additions to their worlds. They're these new, younger characters that really represent the next wave of comic book fans. And we definitely need more of that. And with Star Wars, you know how passionate the fan base is. And I'm pretty sure those books we talked about are gonna be hot again someday. I'm confident we'll see Rey's story continue. Aksoka will have a second season, and therefore it's highly probable that we'll get Grand Admiral Thrawn. Most of these books have a shot at being something bigger down the road, but it's gonna take time. So at the end of the day, just enjoy reading your comics, because that's what it's all about, really. Thanks for watching this Top 10 Rewind from Cover Price. Hey, and don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe to Cover Price's YouTube channel for all their weekly goodness, like the top 10 comics, Shaker Report, and comics covered with Matt and John. And don't forget to go check out COVRPRICE.com to see what's hot in the current top 10 and all the trending movers and shakers. Plus, with C2E2 happening this week in Chicago, Cover Price has you covered with a special C2E2 exclusive page showcasing the hot and trending news, exclusive comics that will be at the show. Thanks for hanging out. Be sure to swing by my YouTube channel, Comics with IzzyVerse NYC, for more comic chats, speculation, and convention fun. We'll catch you next week with another Top 10 Rewind. Excelsior.